All right, I'm ready. So me and my boy, best friend, lifelong friend, known this dude since like I don't know 1990 something. What 90 95 95 or something.
Yeah, 95. That's when we got into eighth grade.
Yeah. So since 95, I known this dude, and so I'm formally married, but my best friend brother, you know what I'm saying, he is married and has been married, and since I've known him since we've been young dudes, I mean, from high school, um, I can joke about it all I want to, but this man has always been serious when it comes to relationships. I don't want to say always, but I give him about 98%. 98% of the way, he's been serious about his relationships with women. I mean, I just real quick, I tried to get him to mess around on a girl that he was actually supposed to be broke up with, but being that they wasn't officially broke up, he wouldn't mess around on a girl. Now he knew he was gonna be broke up with her, but he wouldn't. So the married man's perspective is what I'm trying to get out of this conversation. Um, his name is Dartanyon, but I'm gonna call him Sam because that's what we call him. Sam, give a little bit of background about your own marriage. You know what I'm saying, and everything, man, and introduce yourself.
All right. Well, first I want to know um, which girl are you talking about? Because I think it was maybe two that you tried to get me to wing man for you. While I know one. Well, now this is the same one.
The hunchback.
No, it wasn't a hunchback. No, that one quasi. That one quasi. But the unmentionable. When I was dating her, and you got me to go to Six Flags with Corey Mama and her friend.
Oh, okay.
Look like Mr. Center. I went to Six, but that I didn't necessarily count that as cheating or stepping out because we just went to Six Flags and I knew chick didn't want to be a third wheel. I ain't care about that. I just knew, hey, we're going to Six Flags, so
right.
Cool. I mean, it wasn't a date.
Right.
It was just two extra people.
Right.
But, it was another time when you called my grandma's house and told me we about to go to the mall with the chick that you was kicking it with and her cousin. Got to come to think of it been 3 times, Negro. I know you wanted me to get into who I am, but anyway.
I've always been and if that makes sense to anybody that knows me and knows him, I've always been the troublemaker, and he's always been the one to kind of bring me back to the path of righteousness, for lack of a better term. You know what I'm saying? And it's helped, man. That's that accountability. You know what I'm saying? If I was doing any dirt in my marriage, he couldn't know about it. Couldn't know about it. Because I know if he knew about it, I was going to have to answer some questions, man. So, and that's just how legitimately serious this dude is about it.
Well, shoot, I mean, about myself, damn, this sounds. I used to hate answering this questions on job interviews. I mean, I've always had a firm belief in marriage and in relationships, and I have absolutely no idea where it comes from. I guess it comes from a Christian background, but to me, it even goes deeper than that because outside of my faith and my values as a Christian, I just believed in treating women with respect. So I guess that I carry that into relationships. So I never settled down with a chick unless I knew that I wasn't gonna play games with her. So my thing was if I never made a commitment to you, you can't expect anything from me.
Right.
And vice versa, she had the same, she had the same freedom. So if we're not an item, you can do what you want to do. I can do what I want to do. But when we come together, we're gonna do what we do.
Right.
But once I'm in a relationship, then I had, she can demand certain expectations, and I can demand certain expectations because we're now officially committed to each other for however long that relationship is going to last. But as far as marriage is concerned, I kind of carry the same mindset into marriage that, all right, this is beyond a relationship. This is a covenant agreement. So, marriage to me has always been the pinnacle of relationships. And because of my Christian upbringing, I've always viewed marriage as something that was holy, something that was righteous, something that deeper than, oh, I have feelings for you, you have feelings for me, we're gonna live together. Like, nah, it's deeper than that. So my perspective on marriage has always been the more that I grew in marriage and grew in my faith, I come to realize that from my personal perspective, marriage is likened to my individual relationship with Christ.
Right.
And so, as the Bible called him the bride, and the Bible called the church its bride. So I look at the way that Christ handled his bride, which is the church, which is the believer. And I try to mimic that in my marriage.
Right.
I don't do it to a T, but when I found myself stepping out of line as far as falling short of that standard that he set, then that's what that's the mirror that I place in front of me to check myself, to hold myself accountable.
Right.
Me and my wife can be tripping at the same time, but I can only control what I do. So I gotta get outside of myself, outside of my feelings, outside of me pointing fingers at her and saying I'm acting this way because she's acting this way towards me, to remembering, all right, the same grace that Christ showed me is the same grace that I got to show her. And that kind of brings me back to kind of bring things back into focus for me. And that kicks me off my own high horse that I climbed on and ground me so that I can make sure that I've been tripping, so let me get myself back in position where she can effectively respond to me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So without making that the whole conversation.
No, that's good. So, and we ain't gonna get too heavy into it, but some of y'all know, some of y'all don't. Friends and family, my man, he was married before. His previous wife passed away, God rest her soul, and we loved her to death. And again, I knew I knew this dude to the point where he was going to remarry. That was obvious, because that's, again, as y'all have heard, that's a standard. That's the pinnacle of relationships when it comes to his belief. And I wish that was what everybody believed, But, when we were growing up and coming up in it, what did you learn from your first marriage that you said, oh, I learned something there, I can improve on that? And what did you learn from that and then bring into your current marriage, your new marriage, this one that's going, this one that you're in now that should be the one forever? What did you learn from that other one that you apply now?
Boy, that's a good on the spot. That's a good on the spot question. I would say what I'm still learning, as far as application, is getting outside of my feelings, and when there's a conflict, to resolve it.
Right.
And try to get it resolved as soon as possible, because what I used to do is let things linger.
Right.
And in my past marriage, I used to hold a lot of stuff in, but this time I express myself more. So I guess being expressive,
Right.
the importance and the significance of being expressive, and realizing that my feelings are valid also. And I lost my train of thought, but anyway.
I want to piggyback off of that. You're right, because a lot of times men, we come up with this idea that we don't want to complain. Like, we don't want to do a bunch of bitching and complaining, right? And so by default, we'll pack stuff in, hold it in, because that's that tough guy thing. You know what I'm saying? We ain't supposed to say nothing. We ain't supposed to be mad about nothing. You know, we supposed to always be cool under fire. When in short, you know what I'm saying, we be burning up sometimes, you know, and that's not healthy. That's not emotionally healthy. That's not mentally healthy. That's not spiritually healthy whatsoever to pack that stuff in. And it doesn't mean you gotta blow up. I know you're not a vile dude. You're not a, you know, so that doesn't mean you gotta blow up and have a temper tantrum and act a fool. It just means be tempered and say what you have to say with respect to your significant other, but get that stuff out. Letting it linger is gonna cause the blow up effect, which we don't intend to begin with.
Right. Because what a lot of people don't know, and I never really told a lot of people, that when my late wife passed, we were on bad terms.
Right.
And the day that she passed was the day that I realized how much I had been tripping. And you know, that I was at work and she was at church. And when I was at work, I was like, you know what? When I get home from work, I'm gonna sit her down. We gonna talk. I'm gonna apologize to her, and we gonna get this thing straightened out. But I never got that chance to, because she passed while I was at work.
Right.
So we never had the opportunity to get things straight.
I remember the phone call. I remember the phone call.
Yeah. I think I had called you the day before.
Yeah, we talked about it. We talked about it the day. Hell, we talked about it days up, and we had talked about it because, you know, me and Toya was going through what we were going through, and you were basically like, hey, you know, we would go back and forth. But I remember after Ty passed, you was still reeling me in, like, hey, bruh, straighten it out, man. Like, and of course me being hard headed, but yeah, like that's a perfect example, because tomorrow ain't guaranteed, man. Like you don't know. You don't get up in the morning, and I've always made it a habit, or I've done my best to not try to carry beef. You know, I don't want to go to bed mad. I definitely don't want to leave the house in the morning mad. Don't want to go out the door mad. Don't want her to go. You know what I'm saying? Because again, to straighten it out, to be on better terms, later is not guaranteed.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we take life for granted, and I know I definitely took life for granted, because you get accustomed to, you know, you go to bed, see that person before you go to bed, see that person when you wake up, come home and see that person at home.
Right.
And we just never prepare for the worst.
Right.
And I just took life for granted, and I took her life for granted in that moment of me, in that moment of me being pissed off. So you asked me earlier about what I've learned, and I said what I'm still learning is because I don't always get it right on wife now, and it may seem crazy, but you know, old habits die hard.
Right.
And it's just a process of working out those my late wife again. I wouldn't wish that on nobody. And it took a long time for me to forgive myself, and it took a long time for me to overcome that because, you know, I felt like I had failed her.
Right.
And I don't want to go through, you know, I don't want to repeat that lesson. So, you know, I want to enjoy the days that I have because I don't know how many days I have with my wife.
Right.
So I want to get the most out of my marriage this time that I can. I want to enjoy most of the days that we're together on, you know, on earth. So even if I feel like I'm not wrong, and I feel like she tripping, and I feel like, well, she's not understanding my point of view, it gets to a certain point. I just gotta be like, well, damn that.
Right.
You know, sometimes it ain't about being right. You know, it's not about being right all the time. But, you know, I want that harmony. So if I have to swallow my pride so that we can have that harmony again, then that harmony is a whole lot greater than me being right.
Right.
In that moment. That harmony is a whole lot greater than my ego. Because, you know, a lot of times, I'll admit, a lot of times, I'm the one that's wrong. And then it got to the point where it's like, God damn it, I want to be right this time.
You know what? It's funny you say it, because I ain't never been wrong. Listen, I'm right. And even when I'm wrong, I'm right. So, yeah, that is what it is. One thing I do want to touch on, you mentioned how you would take that first step, like, you know, you're going to break that ice and get things going back. And you know what? A lot of dudes, I hear a lot of talk about submission. I hear a lot of talks about leadership and women letting men lead and submitting. And I don't even have those conversations. I've never had that conversation in a relationship that I've been in, but I've always felt that the woman was submissive. And I think part of that is because you take that high road, right? You choose to be that example as opposed to fighting fire with fire. And I mentioned this the other day. Fighting fire with fire don't do nothing but make a bigger fire.
Yeah, that's it.
Panicking while somebody's panicking don't have nothing but two people panicking. So if I'm if she panicking, then I start panicking. Then she can't look to me for a solution. So so I'm not leading. Therefore, why would she submit to that? And this is relationship level stuff before you even get to marriage. You know what I'm saying? Right. But what you mentioned about taking that first step to break that ice, you know, led me to that particular thought. So one of the other things that I know is always a big question in marriage is fidelity. Yeah. And I hate to get almost 20 minutes into it before I even get to touch on fidelity. Are you tempted? Or how do you avoid it? And I you remember our old quote, or not our quote, but we were back when, so anybody who don't know, my man here was trying to save himself for marriage. Like that was his goal. And had he not been hanging around me, I sincerely believe he would have got close. He would have got close. I mean, we got stories, you know, dude up in the bedroom booed up with something, and he asking her about Christ, and she asking her about what his mouth do. That's the kind of dude that my man was. And he would take my rubbers and throw them away because we were supposed to be, you know, we wasn't supposed to be fornicating. So he would throw my rubbers out, and so I had to go get more rubbers. I don't know how much money you owe me for all the rubbers you threw away, but so.
Hey, you know what? I just gotta stop right there real quick. I apologize because when I started buying rubbers and I started to see how much they cost, I was like, dang, I threw away so much of that man money. So, I was apologize, man. I ain't know.
Man, look. So, but so I remember temptation, and I remember, you know, the Lord's Prayer, lead me not into temptation, but to deliver me from evil. And the idea behind that the philosophy behind that is, don't put yourself in do not put yourself in a situation where you're gonna have to save yourself. There ain't never been a man that's put himself in a situation and said, oh, well, remember the thought was this: put yourself in a situation and I'm gonna be able to say stop when it's time to stop. That's not how it works. When you put yourself in a situation, when you put yourself in a situation, you know good and damn well you was planning on going through it. That's what you was planning on doing. And you ain't hoping for nothing to come save you. But if something happens to you, then you're like, well, I didn't do nothing. I didn't sin. I didn't. And it goes to fidelity too. Well, I just went out, but I didn't cheat. We just went and had a conversation. Or we just went and had lunch. Bro, listen, I know what lunch can turn into. Trust and believe. You know what I'm saying? So I want to hear your take on just avoiding that, because I can hand down say, unless there's something I don't know as of, what's today's date? Today's the 23rd. Unless there's something I don't know as of 10/23/2019. I've never known this man to mess around on a woman he's been in a relationship with. And there are dudes who are faithful. And I've had my fair share in infidelity. You know, I've been that bad guy. And I know oftentimes the thought is all men cheat, because that's a cheater, or a person who has cheated, projecting their reality on the rest of the world to make them feel better about what they've done. It's got to be normalized to make them feel better. But I know for a fact I got dudes in my circle that's just not what they do, and that's not what they've done. So go ahead and speak on that a little bit, Sam.
Just on what you were just saying. Because you already said that. I was trying to save myself from marriage, which I was. But before I got married, I used to tell myself, I'm going to go holler at her, and I ain't going to do nothing. Probably do a little bundling. You know, I'm a definitely kisser, but it ain't going to go no farther than that. And there was one instance where the transmission in my car had broke down, and my car didn't go no more than 40 miles an hour. But I would be on the road, making my way over to the chick house. People blowing their horn behind me. They speeding around me and giving me that Kermit the Frog look when they pass me, looking into my window. But I would, on the road to her house, that was a pretty long incline. So, I would look at that and be like, okay, I'm going to pick up speed here, so I'll be all right. But anyway, so I used to drive a broke car after 11 o'clock at night, trying to convince myself, oh, it's not going to happen. I knew exactly what was going to happen.
Right.
But I had to lie to myself to get me over there and to put myself in that position so that when it did happen, I would be like, dang, man, I done messed up again.
Right.
No, nigga, you knew exactly why you was going over there.
You plotted your own demise, and then and now that it happened, you gonna say, oops.
Yeah, pretty much. How that happened?
Right.
But so the state, what's been keeping me through all my relationships, what's been keeping me in my marriage is what you said. Don't put yourself in a situation. If you don't put yourself in a situation to be tempted, you won't be tempted.
Right.
I mean, even the Bible says flee from temptation.
Right.
Like, flee. Nigga, run.
The other way, fast.
Yeah.
Hard.
180, keep going, don't look back.
Right.
And another thing that helps me is just knowing the audience. You know what I'm saying? Knowing who I'm associating myself. And I'm not saying that you got to stay up under your woman 24/7, but my wife is the funnest person that I can be around. And I desire being around my wife. And so I don't have a problem hanging out with my wife. You know, I look forward to hanging out with my wife. And when I'm not with her, I'm not putting myself in a position to where I have to sneak to do something, because I know that if she was there, it'll make her uncomfortable, or it'll disappoint her, or it'll just overall piss her off.
Right.
So she don't have me on a leash. She don't have me on a chain. But it's just my personal preference to spend my free time with her and our kids. That's where my joy comes from.
Right.
So outside of work, outside of my family, that there's really nothing that I look forward to doing. So that eliminates opportunities for me to walk into a tempting situation.
Right.
And if a chick hit me up in my inbox, which my inbox is dry as a camel's mouth, but
I mean, listen, hey, well, hold on, knock wood, because a married man talking about being a good married man and all that other good stuff. They come. Listen, I'm just saying, but that's all real, man. What the thing you mentioned real quick, and I'm gonna let you get back to it, because this is good stuff. Thing you mentioned that is powerful is, knowing your audience and having fun. You genuinely just have fun with your wife. And I've known you for years, and I've seen the growth. I've seen you loosen up in life. You know what I'm saying? I remember everything was so biblically serious with my man. Everything. Everything. And that's not a bad thing, because, we've all respected, all your family, friends have respected your walk, you know what I'm saying, and admired you for it, but it's also good to see that, with your wife now, you've adapted to her personality. Because I remember when you and her got together early on, and I was like, hey, bro, you have to take that woman dancing sometime, bro. I was married to an island woman, so I know. And so, and at the time, you were like, take her dancing. I ain't taking her nowhere. I'm like, bro, you have to take her dancing. You have to have a drink with your wife, man. Drink. Drinking, man. Now this dude here got a collection. He hit me up about alcohol. You know what I'm saying? I probably slowed down to where you've picked up. But that's a beautiful thing, because it's all in that globe. It's all in the sphere of enjoying it with your wife. You know what I'm saying? That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Man, hey, you just reminded me of when we all had went out, and I think it was my birthday dinner or something, and I think we was at Atlantic Station, and we had went like upstairs, and they had like the dance floor and DJ or whatever.
Right.
And my wife was dancing on me, and I was standing there stiff as a board, and you and Toya were trying to hype me up so that I could move my foot.
Right.
But I was just standing there like, well, she can dance, but I ain't finna dance, man. The Lord won't be pleased.
Look, hey, wait, and I'm gonna get y'all right now. I'm gonna get him right now. I'm gonna put you on the spot. I'm glad you mentioned it. Look, he married. His woman want to dance, but he don't want to move his feet. His feet are stuck in cement. Bruh, when we was young, we went to a club. This dude's nickname is the Booty Man and if you know why, because the lights, we getting ready to leave a club, leave a party, leave anywhere. We on the way to the door. We look up, and where this dude at, man? He done went back and found something to grind on and grind up against and have shaken up on him. And so we got to go find this dude again through the club. Literally until the lights came on. That's what this dude wanted to do. So fast forward, his marriage, now he talking about he don't want to dance. Bro, this is your wife. And she want to dance. You got all the liberty in the world. If you can't do nothing, if you couldn't have done nothing ever in life before, this is the opportunity to do whatever you want. She want to do it. You used to want to do it. You ain't got no reason not to do it. I don't know about nothing in the Bible saying you can't grind up on your old lady in the dark somewhere with a bunch of other folks and music. I ain't never heard it. So man, man, I've seen that growth though, man. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it just, man. The thing is, man, I came across a little word called liberty.
Right.
And when I came into the realization of what liberty is, and realizing that I'm free in Christ and not bound in Him, I was like, well, shoot, man. I mean, that's not. I'm not saying that's a license to do whatever you want.
Right.
But it's just a realization is that you're not bound to a set of rules. You know, you live life, of course, that's pleasing to Him, but you don't have to be shackled by expectations and what other people throw on you as their idea of righteousness.
Man, woo! That's why we got denominations. Denominations are nothing other than a bunch of people saying, this is what's righteous, so we're going to call ourselves this. Well, this is what we find righteous, so we're going to call ourselves this. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. None of that matters. Denomination, and we've had that conversation. I don't want to get into a real, Christian debate or discussion, but denomination, the word denomination is synonymous with divide, people. It's synonymous with divide. So it's a division of commonality based on things that y'all just don't agree with, which in the end of the day, like my man is saying, when you're free in Christ, that stuff don't matter. And y'all ain't finna get me talking about free in Christ and all this good stuff right here, man. Man, those days are not here at the moment. Not here. I said at the moment. That's a Freudian slip. I hope not. But I do my own thing as I so see fit, and it works out pretty much. But yeah, man, I definitely respect that because again, I remember the you that lived so bound as opposed to you now, and there's no difference in your character. You cuss every now and then.
Yeah.
You'll cuss, boy. I remember, dude. I remember the first time I heard you cuss was when Ebony broke up with you on Valentine's Day or before Valentine's Day. The only time I heard the man cuss, I didn't think this man knew a cuss word.
Wait a minute. If you're gonna tell that story, you gotta tell it right. It wasn't on Valentine's Day.
Oh yeah,
it was like a couple of days before.
Yeah, because you had all them plans, all those plans, and all that money was already spent, and plans was already made, and wasn't no recovery. $80
for a giant teddy bear, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
And technically, she didn't break up with me. I pulled the plug, but I knew she wanted to, but I guess she just didn't want to hurt my feelings. But that night that you're talking about when I was cussing, I think I set a record for my personal life.
Right.
And the most cuss words. I think I made up some cuss words that night. So that still carried over. I mean, it's not often that I get that pissed anymore.
Right.
But I do every now and then, and I can still make up some words. But anyway.
All right, so I want to get into another thing, and we just briefly touched on this before we got on here and recorded, and I told you, hold on, don't give me the good stuff now. We want to have this conversation live. So, gender roles.
No.
Gender roles. I'll give my take. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel that I believe in gender roles. Like I ain't finna let my woman can't take out trash. No, You ain't taking out no trash. And that seems petty, but it's real. You ain't pumping gas. You ain't taking out trash. There's just certain things I believe, and it drives me crazy now to be going down the street and see a woman cutting her own yard. Not that y'all can't do it. This is not a woman can't do. This is just what a man should do if he's that husband and if he's that provider, if he's in that role, he's in that protective role. Like, why does she have to do those things? And so your take on gender roles. I know you mentioned providing before we before I cut you short earlier, and so get into your thought about that.
I'm not of the traditional cut and dry, no gray areas, or it's black and white with gender roles. Like a man should do this and a woman should do that. I think that there should be some flexibility, and that there needs to be flexibility because no relationship is the same. There's no cookie cutter way to have a successful relationship. And I think that traditional strict gender roles is that cookie cutter.
Right.
That makes people believe that it has to be done this way and it should be done this way. If it's not done this way, then it's completely erroneous. And that's what I have a problem with. So my take on gender roles is basically you two come to, man and woman come to an agreement on what they feel is acceptable and what they feel is not acceptable in their relationship.
In their individual relationship.
Right.
Right.
What works for them, what don't work for them. I know a big one is if you ask a woman, or you just ask a question that who should pay, or should you go 50-50 on household expenses? The first thing you'll hear a lot of women say, well, I didn't get married to have a roommate. This is 2019, and I want to clarify first before I go any further. I'm not advocating going 50-50 or splitting or whatever, but I'm not going to demonize the man or the woman who subscribes to that that way of managing their financial pie.
Right.
So if it's financially beneficial for the both of them to go 50-50, why not?
Right.
And don't tell me it shouldn't be done because a man's supposed to. I mean, come on now. Back then when your grandparents and your great grandparents were doing that, they was doing it out of necessity. That was the societal norm because a lot of times women weren't in a place. They didn't have a place in society or in the workforce.
Right.
So, I mean, come on. They had a whole movement just so they can get out the kitchen and get a job.
Right.
They fought for the right to work. You know what I'm saying? So they fought for the right to be independent. Why deny them that?
Right.
But if the man and the woman agree, well, you pay everything, and the man say, I don't got a problem doing that, that's cool too. Do y'all whatever makes sense in y'all relationship, whatever makes sense, and whatever makes logical sense, do that. But I think that you got to know the person that you're with, and you got to be real about your finances. You ain't gonna marry a millionaire. Every woman ain't gonna marry a millionaire. Every woman ain't gonna marry a man making six figures. So if you're coming into a relationship and you know this man is like a teacher or something, and he's making what, like 35, 40, 50,000 a year, why would you expect him to cover all the expenses? It just doesn't make logical sense. And to me, I feel like that's being inconsiderate to place that burden on him alone.
So let me jump in on that. I agree in with the idea, and this is what I'll attach to that. Because I do believe in a certain degree of paying. I don't believe in 50-50 for myself. I believe in taking care of the necessities. And whatever ain't the necessities, then we can discuss, right? So, I get that rent, that mortgage, that light and gas, and them utilities. We gonna cover all that. The things that are needed for the family to function, I got that. Now, if those expenses start to exceed what I can cover, baby girl, which wouldn't happen if I'm making it clear that I'm gonna cover them. So that eliminates that. If I'm gonna be the provider of the necessities, then the necessities are gonna fit under my budget. If you need necessities that don't fit under my budget, then you're gonna have to provide. You're gonna have to kick in for that. But the way I move is gonna work like that, and so that works for me. And it's always worked for the type of woman that I've been in a relationship with, dated, or whatever. But I agree in theory with what you're saying, because they kind of go, in hand in hand. In this day and age, we want more than what our elders or our ancestors did. We want more. We got more things. We claim to need more things than they did. We don't, but we think we do. So if you need more things, you're going to spend more money to acquire those things. And one person's income covering everything just isn't making sense. It's not practical.
Right.
And so I think whether it's 50-50 on the bills again, and to me it's always been easier for me to just knock down them bills because I can control. See, that's a cost control. See, I know what the mortgage is, or I know what the rent is. Them lights, if I'm paying for them, them lights is off. Ain't nobody got them lights. The AC, I'm paying for it. Yeah, I'm sorry, baby girl. You ain't gonna have that bitch at 67 degrees. It might be a little toasty. We might have to get some fans up in it. I'm joking, but I'm serious, because if I'm footing the bill, I'm controlling it. You know what I'm saying? And that's the way that is. In any given situation where a person is paying for, they have more say so in that particular arena. It's the same as if this woman is saying, well, I'm making sure the kids got X, Y, and Z, or I'm putting it into this pot here. Then that's her. She has more control in that. She kind of gonna have the final say to a degree. That works and makes sense. There's no business model. There's no business venture. And marriages and relationships, especially marriages, are like business partnerships. You assessing what each other have as far as assets, what are the liabilities, what do you bring to the table, everything, and you putting it together. And the person who brings more is going to control more. That's the way it is, because that's the way it is in business. And so now, granted, that doesn't mean the other person doesn't have a say so, that their voice is muted because this person is covering the cost. No man or woman or person that is decent is going to hold that or should hold that over another individual's head. But what you're asking for when you ask for an individual is to cover all costs, is that they're going to have final say.
Right.
They're going to have more of a say. And it's good decorum. It's nice if they listen to you. It's considerate.
Right.
But that's one of those things. As far as gender roles, I believe in, like I said, covering that. But I believe in also whatever works for you works for you.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, whatever works for you works for you.
I feel like women should be careful with putting themselves in position to be completely dependent on.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
With with absolute power
comes
corruption.
Yep. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's an axiomatic truth, people. That means it's self-evident. It has yet to be proven wrong.
Yeah, it's just the nature of of man, and when I say man, I just mean mankind.
Right.
That's just the nature of man. That when you're placed in a position of power, absolute power, within the home, then you're going to eventually. It may start off nice. It may be beautiful to you. Oh, he take care of everything. He does this. He does that. It's gonna come to a point. 9 times out of 10, that you may get that 1, you may get 2% of the male population that does that. That will continue on being this considerate, nice gentleman. But that other 99, 98%, I can almost guarantee, I put money on it, that he's going to come into a position of, you need me, I don't need you.
Yep. And that takes me into independence, because the independent woman, the strong independent woman, God, I hate that one. And women don't get your tits in a twist when I say that. It's because if you're forced to be independent by society, then it is what it is. But the nature of all things, and I'm not saying some things, the nature of all things functioning in the universe function interdependently at their optimum level. So to function at your optimum level, you have to be interdependent. You have to lean on something. There is nothing in the universe that doesn't obey that law.
Yeah.
Everything needs something. There's always a balancing act. That doesn't say that things cannot function independently, but life itself does not spring up until it becomes interdependent. Until cells are interdependent on the environment, life can't flourish.
Right.
So when you're independent, you become so conservative to where you exist in this slow process of just conserving. But when you're interdependent and you're living abundantly and leaning on and depending on, as much risk as that is, it's like the fall test. I gotta trust this person behind me. I'm gonna clutch my chest and fall. That's life. That's living. There's gonna be some risk out there. There is risks to interdependency, but that's the nature of all things anyway. And so naturally, whether it's the bills or whether it's anything else, that interdependent nature reminds us that we have to consider our counterpart or counterparts.
Right. Yesterday, I was talking to a customer at work. She was just telling me a whole life story. Told me everybody's business. Told me her son's business, his baby mama, her family, her marriage, her daddy, her granddaddy. She told me everything in a matter of about 2 hours. I was at her house. But she said that her and her husband been together since high school sweetheart.
Right.
He got her pregnant while in high school, and then he joined the Marine. He's a retired Marine now. And she said that her dream was to be an interior decorator, and she's good at it. But he won't allow her to have a job. He won't allow her to work. Now listen, the word allow. He said that she can't get a job, so she doesn't have a job. She's dependent solely on him. They had a nice house now, real nice house, laid out. But she said her husband cheated on her, and they're still going through their issues. But he cheated on her with one of their neighbors in the neighborhood.
The hell? I'm gonna do an episode on cheating. Cheating is wrong. It is wrong. It's the wrong thing to do. Okay? It's wrong. But there's ways to go about it. And one of the ways to go about it is not in your neighborhood, bro. But anyway, go ahead.
but you know what? That goes to my point. So Buddy probably thinking, where you gonna go?
What you gonna do?
Yeah, to be that bold to cheat with someone in your neighborhood, your neighbor,
bro.
That's a level of boldness that he knows that she doesn't. If she does have a way out, it's very minuscule. You know, she's gonna struggle. So he knows that he has the leverage because he controls everything.
Right.
Her whole livelihood depends on him. So if a man was in a position to where, or he had a wife that was in a position to independently care for herself, I believe that he will still cheat if that's in him, but I believe that he'll be a little more discreet about it.
Right.
Other than
you got something to lose.
The neighbor.
Right.
And so, that's just to illustrate my point to where when you place yourself in that position to be completely dependent on somebody else, then you're at their mercy.
Right.
Your whole life.
Here's my other thought of that. And I think back to my grandfather, and my grandmother. My grandmother just passed this past summer, 98 years old. My grandfather passed in 95. But, growing up and just being around my grandparents, my grandfather was the head of the household. They came up in that time, obviously, where the man was. But my grandmother was empowered. And when I say that, once my father and my aunt and uncle, they got to a certain age, my grandmother worked, and then, she worked more after. Now, my grandfather, that's why I have the beliefs I have. We believe in providing those necessities. And my grandmother worked because she wanted to, one, not necessarily because she needed to, but there were things that she wanted that she said, if I want this and I want to do this, then I don't want to have to ask him for it. I just want to go get it. So I think my father told me this. My grandfather, he had a house built. The house was built, paid for, bought. He had the whole house furnished, everything. My grandmother walks in that house. She's thankful. She appreciates it. She looks around, look at the furniture that this old man who ain't got no kind of taste in furniture. My grandfather, if people got to understand, this we talking about old school, Greyhound racing, mechanic, World War II. We talking about old school, barber shop, business owner, all that stuff. This man don't know nothing about decorating no interior. He can buy a suit. He can dress. He can buy some fine jewelry. He can't decorate no house. My grandmother didn't insult him, didn't make him feel bad about it. It was appreciated. She got her money and went and got that shit out of her house. I don't know what they did with that furniture, but she got that shit out of her house. I know I don't know. I've never seen it. Ain't no pictures of it nowhere. And I say that to say that when I've lived with a woman, my shit got put somewhere. It got put into another room. It got put outside. It got put into a garage. And she brought her stuff. She bought what she bought. She bought her curtains. I didn't put. So that's where that money that they have comes in. And so when I speak about empowering a woman, it's not just so she can buy the things she wants. It's also that she can establish an identity for herself outside of the home. Because what if something happens? What if that man dies? What can she do for herself? What can she do for her children? What can she do for her friends and peers? Can she function on her own independently in a moment where she's forced to be independent? Right. And so my grandmother was empowered. My grandfather wasn't sitting there like, hey, you don't work because you don't need to. She understood that she didn't need to, but she wanted to for her own personal gain, and he didn't hold her back. I didn't know my grandmother spoke Spanish until she was 80-something years old, and I found out she speaks. And I'm like, Grandma, why you tell me you speak Spanish? And she's like, well, you never asked. Well, I don't know to ask you if you speak Spanish, Grandma. But a black woman back then, you being educated and knowing how to read was one thing. Being able to speak another language, being bilingual, that was a whole affront. So, it wasn't nothing to necessarily brag about. But she was empowered to do her own thing. Mm-hmm. She was empowered. Another story was told, my grandfather told her that if he was going to buy her a car, that she had to carry a gun. She didn't want to carry no gun. But since he was buying that car, that was his rule. I'm buying this car, you're going to carry a gun. If you don't want to carry a gun, you got to go buy your own car. And now eventually she did buy her own car, but she still carried that gun. Yeah. But those are the things. So there's that empowerment. And that's where my grandfather, being the patriarch and being the head, was not dominant and toxic to the point to where I'm trying to control your every move. It was so I can protect you from what I know is out here. But if you want to fly, I'm going to let you fly, but let's do it. So you got to empower. So that situation where you're talking about, where that man, he has that woman isolated, he has her solely dependent on him, and yep, he can do whatever she wants. And then she don't even know what to do about it. Yeah. She's more fearful of the idea that she's going to be out there on her own and, dang, I got to start over. Where would I live? I live in this nice house. Would I have to get an apartment? How many bedrooms? One bedroom? How many bathrooms? A small bathroom? She can't even, her reality, she can't fathom what that's like. So she don't want to know nothing about that life. So she's going to take it in stride until she don't. I mean, now is she from this country?
Yeah, she's from Florida.
Okay. I'll say I know a lot of brothers. They not a lot of brothers only, a lot of men in general. They like to in the military, we see it all the time. They want to marry somebody foreign and bring them over here and do whatever they want to do. Yeah. But see, women are adaptable now. That stuff ain't working no more. They know how to Google everything, and they know exactly what the rights over here are in the United States of America, and they will play dumb. They will play the game until they don't have to play the game no more, and you will be paying out your ass and ears and everything else. You can't get away with that. She's how old would you say she is about?
The lady that I was talking to?
Yeah.
Her son in his 30s, so she got to be probably in her 50s.
Oh, okay.
Probably mid-50s.
Right. So a woman today, that's not happening. That's more than likely not going to happen to a woman today. Mm-hmm. Because they're gonna know what they can get. Infidelity? Oh, that's a one-way ticket right there. You can punch that ticket.
Oh yeah.
You can prove it. You can punch that ticket, and she can be paid.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. We almost an hour, man. It's gonna take forever for this video to load, but I think it's gonna be good, man. We gonna have to get it back in. I'm gonna go ahead and close it out. But again, talking to married men about marriage, and I got some other brothers in my friends list, and some of them that aren't in my friends list, and dudes I've grown up with for years and known for years. These brothers are married, and then some single brothers too. I get them on here to get them to chop it up, and women. We'll get y'all on here to chop it up and let y'all cackle.
Oh,
I'll close it off on that. I gotta go.